next scene, we see both Taisu and his underling Incheon getting pummeled by the assistant of their boss, who's absolutely fuming. He reminds them that he told them to clean up their mess, but instead, they just made things worse. The two poor guys keep their heads down, and Taisu tries to slide out of it with a simple apology. Taisu takes a brutal smack to the face from the assistant, who continues to pummel him like a crazy bastard. He then reminds Taisu that there's no room for apologies, because they're supposed to be expanding the business while the Goshong and Seongsu boys are out of action, but instead, they're dealing with this mess Taisu dragged into their family. By the way, Goshong and Seongsu are the same guys whom our boy had defeated when they had attacked Mr. Cha's turf. The lackey watches in horror as his boss gets pummeled like a sack of potatoes. Just then, the big cheese arrives and tells his assistant to stop. Standing before Taisu, he reminds him that he made the mistake of thinking he actually had potential. Taisu clenches his teeth while lying on the ground. Meanwhile, the boss pulls out a cigarette while asking his assistant if he sent some men over. The assistant confirms that he has, and they've just set out, so it won't be long before they're back with those suckers who plummeted their men. The man makes it clear that they can't just sit around, especially not when these fools are already part of the family, and he can't stand someone messing with his family. So he tells his lackey to ensure that none of those bastards leave here in one piece. The assistant quickly assures his boss that he'll take care of it. Back on Cha's turf, we see Muscleman bursting into the club. He reports to Cha that he's figured out why the Hwang Kim boys have been stirring up trouble. Cha asks for more details, and Muscleman anxiously reveals that it seems one of their new members got into some trouble with that kid. Looks like Cha already knows who that kid is, and wonders to himself why they had to pick on that guy. By the way, I just figured out that this Muscleman's name is Yongsu, so we will be calling him that. Yongsu then reveals that the kid decimated them, and now the rest of the family is out for blood. They don't want word getting out that their men got beat by some high school kid. Cha lets out a puff of smoke and tells Yongsu to round up some men because things are about to get real. It wouldn't be surprising if he wants to step in and aid our boy. Yongsu quickly states that he's already on it, and with a big smile adds that some of the boys have dropped by to say hello. He mentions that since Cha has already dealt with the Kim family and Goshong, all the former lackeys are back in the game. Cha starts to stand up, chuckling to himself. He points out that these damn fools are back and just looking for an excuse to have fun and get drunk. He opens the door to find all the lackeys lined up, all glad to have their boss back. Cha stands tall, appreciating the crew and saying he's also glad to see everyone back. He acknowledges it's been a while since they had a blast together, but he suggests they tackle one quick job before catching up over some drinks. Later on the streets, Yona and Seokju find themselves suddenly surrounded by a group of thugs. The leader of the thugs smirks, clearly pleased that they didn't have to search far to find them. He mockingly apologizes for crashing their date, but warns that he's taking both of them with him. But before the thugs can make their move, a fleet of cars screeches to a halt around them. Out step a group of guards clad in sharp suits, quickly surrounding each and every thug. It's clear SW Corp has sent in reinforcements, and Yona's personal bodyguard looks absolutely furious at the sight of these lowlifes, and without a second thought, he grabs one of the thugs by the head. We all know that these thugs are as good as dead. Even Yona can't help but feel a bit sorry for these fools, and they have no idea what they've just walked into. Later, we see a bunch of Cha's lackeys with bats, demolishing everyone around in the area. We also see Cha strolling into the familiar club, the same place where our boy and Seoku had taken down those 30 men. The leader of this gang is clearly in shock to see Dushik Cha there. Even the two lackeys standing behind him are absolutely blown away and terrified, realizing they're facing the boss of the Dushik gang, who is the toughest gangster in this part of town. The boss struggles to believe it and asks Cha why he's here, reminding him that they never touched any of Cha's men, so there must be some kind of misunderstanding. Cha calmly reminds him that he should have just let the kids sort it out among themselves, because he finds it a bit childish for an adult to get involved in such matters. Of course, the boss of this area is shocked to hear this and asks what the hell that even means. But then, it quickly clicks in this mind, and he asks if Cha is here because of our boy. Cha smirks and replies that since the boss of this turf has gotten involved with that kid, it makes sense for him to step in as well. Later, we find Daeon enjoying some delicious noodles and drinking down all the savory soup. She feels really refreshed and happy. Jin watches her with a big smile, glad to see his sister so happy. Daeon feels a bit awkward after showing too much excitement and quickly responds that she hadn't had cup noodles in ages, so she was just a bit excited. But Jin reminds her that he hadn't said anything about it. Just then, his phone rings, and it's Mr. Cha calling. Jin picks up and Cha immediately asks what he's up to. Jin explains that he's having some ramen outside a convenience store. Cha then highlights that ramen isn't exactly a grown-up meal and offers to treat him to dinner sometime, suggesting they go for some real nice barbecue. Jin replies that he doesn't think that's necessary, Cha teases him, asking if he's hesitant to have dinner with a gangster like him. Jin responds that he prefers ramen at a convenience store, especially since he doesn't like being treated to anything too expensive. I guess Cha has no room for any argument anymore, so he gives up and decides it's ramen then. Once he ends the call, we see that all of the Gosiok tech has been dominated by Cha alone.